Hey, what's going on, guys? Jeff Koga here, and I'm actually hanging out on my balcony here. I don't know if you can see the Roosevelt and stuff like that from here, but yeah, just hanging out, getting a tan, and just decided to just hit the record button and see what happens. I'm actually here just going through some old notes and stuff like that. It's a lazy Sunday, so I'm studying, and it was very interesting because earlier this past week, I think I got an email from a local wholesaler. I believe he's a wholesaler. I'm not quite sure if he rehabs, but I think he's a wholesaler from the last time we spoke and we exchanged email. And it's very, very interesting because one of the things that I'm always talking about is competitive intelligence, right? I talked about it in my last video, and I'm talking about it now. What is competitive intelligence? Competitive intelligence is to actually basically have information on your competition. And I know some folks will say, yeah, you know what, if you're in the real estate business, no one's your competition, yada, yada, yada. But in reality, if you think about it, if you're going after the same types of deals, yeah, it is competition, okay? But is competition bad? You know, I wouldn't say it's bad. You know, competition is good. If anyone that has ever played sports and stuff like that, if you ever notice, I, for one, play basketball. Sometimes when you play with folks that aren't as good as you actually stoop down to their level when you start playing, versus you play guys that are a lot better than you. You stay more active. You know, you're doing the cuts better. You're hitting your jump shots better. You're, doing your crossovers much better, you're doing your passes are more crisp and stuff like that. So I believe business is the same way, but I'll give you a little golden nugget on what we've started doing in our business. Actually, matter of fact, I think mid last year or so, or maybe it might have been earlier than that, is we started to analyze other wholesalers, okay, and other rehabbers. And what I mean by that is this, is that when wholesalers blast out their properties, guess what we started doing? We started actually just taking inventory down, so we have someone in-house that actually takes down, and we have a separate spreadsheets to see how many emails they blast out in a month, how many deals that they have, and on top of that, we even keep track of if that deal closes, and if it closes, does it close at the price that you actually said it was going to close for? And then on top of that, we track it even to see if it flips out at the price that you said you're going to flip out as, okay? So that's a little trade secret in our business that we do. So when y'all investors think that you're some heavy duty player, I know for a fact you ain't, because I've been tracking you for the last several years or so, or the last several months, I mean, and you're not doing the deals that you say you're doing, okay? And on top of that, some of y'all investors, okay, or wholesalers, what you do is you copy and paste other people's flyers and you just tack on 5Gs on top and resend it out to your list without thinking that I'm on your list when you're blasting out our properties, okay? Please stop that, because what happens in my Gmail account is it stacks the information, and you have the nerve not even to change actually the freaking subject line, man. I'm like, wow, how lazy can you be, right? But the point of the matter is competitive intelligence. Matter of fact, that's why some folks that ever email me, and I know you're doing that kind of stuff, you're never going to see a response from me. Why? I'm not trying to be a jackass or whatever, but it's more of in terms of you're doing it halfway, and I don't want to deal with folks that aren't 100% in this business, okay? But anyways, that's one of the things that I do when it comes to wholesalers for inventory, and that keeps a very good pulse on the market on what everyone else is doing. And on top of that, I'm on everyone else's list. Is my personal name on it? No, I have a separate email called a swipe file email that I actually put on, where I actually opt into a lot of people's emails list, and people start emailing, and once a month I go through there and I get ideas from, okay, where some folks always complain about, say, oh my god, I get too many emails, I'm going to opt out of all of them. Okay, fine, opt out, but keep them so that way you can always refer back to, right? And I'll go ahead and give you another golden nugget. I know I say competitive intelligence, but some of the stuff that I do within my business is I like to duplicate and copy successful things that are working. So sometimes when we need to unload properties, it can be at the retail level, right? When we fixed one of our rehabs and we need to resell, or it can be a property we tied up and for whatever reason we just decide that, hey, you know, we don't want to take this down because it's not our cup of tea or whatever it is, then we will go ahead and do some crazy marketing stuff to go ahead and create a buzz. And some of the strategies that we implement are basically sending emails from different folks on our list. Why? Because certain individual on my organization has a lot higher open rate versus I do, because it's about name recognition and email recognition, and it goes through the MTA, or basically it gets delivered into your email inbox. So we do certain things and strategy that way. And I'll give you a little golden nugget is copy subject lines that you know are working, and track open rates. Okay, I see some of y'all that are be blasting properties out on Gmail and stuff like that and doing BCC. Please don't. Okay, it's a business. I know if you're dead broke and you can't do it, fine, but use MailChimp or something like that, or even iContact. Do the free trial and at least track it, because you need to know who's opening your emails, because I for one know every single individual who opens our emails, who's actually even clicking on the links and who's actually even forwarding them to other people. And I even know when you're opening it and what time you're opening it, so that way it allows me to go ahead and see how effective my subject lines are, right? So if I see a subject line that works, guess what I do? I just go ahead and duplicate it, right? And some of the interesting stuff is even just putting like RE colon and then putting the rest of your subject line will go ahead and give you probably like a 0.5% open rate bump, 0.5 to 1%. Why? Because when people see that RE or the FWD in the subject line, they assume that it's something that they've already communicated email back and forth on, right? Or it can be something that you're forwarding and stuff like that, and people just click on it all the time, right? So that's one. And those are some of the few things that we implement. But let's get back to it. What is marketing? And the sun is freaking beaming on me, okay? So what I was going back to is actually some stuff that I've been studying right here. These are some notes from February, so I'm actually looking at it. And I think you guys might actually love this, okay? One of the key bullet points says, what is marketing? And it says, marketing is bringing the market to desire your product or services. And even talks about, it says, almost every marketer mistakenly views marketing as a project or activity based as opposed to a set of processes. Okay, let me say it again. Almost every marketer mistakenly views marketing as a project or activity instead of set of processes. Meaning that it is always the process, in my opinion, that is much more important than the end result. Yes, the end results are important, as in like, wow, you made $50,000. Wow, you made $10,000. That's important, okay? But how you made it and what you can learn from that and what you can derive from that particular closing, that deal, that campaign that you did, that client that you sat down with, that homeowner that you're trying to help out, that investor that was looking to buy an investment property, that investor that got clobbered in the 2008 financial collapse and looking to go ahead and park their money into a safe asset, tangible asset as real estate, and you're helping those individuals. You have to go ahead and understand that process. And on top of that, one other advice, and this comes from actually my earliest mentor that I had when I had my first official, I guess, corporate job or whatever, is when I worked in the insurance and financial service industry, and they had a lot of executive guys and a lot of training, which I benefited tremendously from. But one of the books that I picked up at that time was called Trusted Advisors. That green book, sorry, not the green book, but the yellow book, and I read that literally from cover to cover, probably about 5 times or 6 times in the course of like 3 months. And the reason why I did that is because it showed that selling really isn't about selling, right? Selling is more about educating your clients, educating the individual that you know. And by educating and becoming an advisor, now you have a moral obligation to making sure that you're doing the right thing for them and you are looking out for their best interest, right? For example, right, if you are in the wholesaling business, right, and you want to become that trusted advisor wholesaler, right, and you have an end buyer locked in place, and because of his vocabulary that he uses, he may be a rookie, right? And if he's a rookie, does it make financial sense or an obligation? Do you have a moral obligation to be able to go ahead and say, hey, look, this is X, Y, and Z, this particular deal. Do you have X already in place, right? Do you have your contract? If they say, obviously, yeah, I have your contract in place because heavy duty construction, yeah, and you actually ask them what you're going to do with the project, and he breaks it down to you, and they can answer that, with all means, sell that property to that individual. But if that individual is having difficulty explaining that and articulating that right to you, and then on top of that, they haven't done too many deals, don't force anyone to buy your properties, okay? It's a very small community when it comes to the investment world, and everyone knows everyone, probably by like 2 degrees of separation. So stay away from that and be that advisor, that individual that are looking to look out for the best interest of other folks, right? So if you're a wholesaler, make sure your client is your investor, your cash buyers. And also on top of that, if you're doing direct mail, your clients are also the sellers, right? So if the sellers are telling you they need to move by X date and they need to get the cash very quickly, okay, don't try to push them into a lease option or trying to take a subject to deal or whatever. Cash them out completely, right? But then the question is, if they needed to get cashed out, how much do they need, right? Maybe they got an IRS tax lien that, you know, they need to pay in $20,000 in the next 30 days. If that's the case, then maybe you can work something out and get creative and maybe give them $20,000 up front and maybe $10,000, $30,000 later on, and then structure the deal that way, right? Now the other side is your client base, right? Who are they? If it's your investor, your capital investor, your private lenders, right? Make sure that you protect their money as it is yours, okay? Why? Is because they are entrusting you with their dollars, hard-earned dollars that they have created, they have generated the wealth, and go ahead and putting you in a position to go ahead and say, hey, you know what, I trust you, please go ahead and give me a return. So you have the moral obligation to making sure that you go ahead and do right by them to go ahead and they can go ahead and get their return from the investment that they put in. So a little bit longer than usual, and I am getting burnt up here, and I may have to go ahead and get to the pool or something like that. But Jeff Koga on this beautiful Sunday, and I will see you next Tuesday. And if you have not subscribed to Flippinese TV, this Tuesday we're coming out with a video on 1 week update from last week on Project the Skylight. So what I've been told is actually it's been buttoned up and the garage is already up, so you get to take a look. And then on top of that, we included some funny bloopers in there from the several video shots. They should be pretty funny. And one thing on Project Skylight that I didn't talk about on the video was how we got the deal. And I think we have a few more minutes before I get to 15 minutes or so. So I'll go ahead and rattle off is but that particular project, when you look from the front of the house, there's actually 2 driveways. And I remember when I parked there initially, I said, why the hell is there 2 driveways, right? So as we did some research and we pulled permits on it, we figured out that, hey, you know what, there was 2 driveways because one of the bedrooms was previously a garage, right? So we were just like, huh, that's interesting, but it was actually more of a porch. So they didn't have the actual permits on it. Why? Because in LA, they only go ahead and carry, LA County, I'm sorry, LA City is another thing, but this property is in LA County, and they only carried permits up to 1974 or something like that. I forgot the exact date. Don't quote me on this, okay? So we had to run to the tax assessor's office, and by that time, we're negotiating with the bank saying, hey, you know what, so far building and safety, it's coming out as an illegal bedroom, so it's actually a 2-1, not a 3-1, and you lost 300 square feet of your building, right? So we were doing that because they're pushing us to freaking put our money hard and all kinds of stuff. So we said no problem, and guess what? We got our discount that we were looking for, and we turned it into a deal, and that's how we took it down. And luckily enough, we found out later on, after the contract was accepted, that, hey, you know what, that was an actual bona fide 3rd bedroom, and the only problem was they didn't file one document with the building and safety, and that's the reason why it kind of showed off funky and stuff like that. But we figured it out. It was a really easy fix, and that's one of the reasons how we were able to go ahead and get that discount. So our acquisition guys did a hell of a job actually putting the puzzle pieces together, and when they told me about this, I was just like, wow, that's very interesting. So this is Jeff Koga on this beautiful Sunday. As I stated before, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and I will see you this Tuesday. Jeff Koga, and I am signing out.